Welcome to the Smart Influencer Podcast. If you're tired of chasing algorithms, second-guessing your strategy, or feeling like you're doing all the things without seeing the growth you want, you're in the right place.
We're your hosts. I'm Christina.
And I'm Corinne.
And we're bloggers, business owners, systems nerds, and founders of the Smart Influencer. Between the two of us, we've built multiple six-figure brands, launched digital products, hosted live events, and coached creators who are ready to level up.
Each week, we break down what's actually working in today's creator economy, from monetization and list growth to systems, automation, and building a business that doesn't own you. Because this isn't about hustling harder.
It's about building smarter. Let's get into it. Today, we're chatting with Shruthi from Urban Farmy about AI as a systems play, not a productivity play. Welcome to the show, Shruthi. Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Thank you for having me, you guys. So I am Shruthi. I run Urban Farmy, which is a global vegetarian recipe site. My professional background is in food systems, and I have worked in that space for the last 15 years, including for the United Nations. And through that process, I have lived in, traveled in, worked in over 66 countries now.
Wow.
And being a vegetarian in all of those places is always an interesting experience. And so anytime I would get a recipe in one of those countries, I would want to make it vegetarian, come back. And during the pandemic, I started sharing it online. And now it has kind of grown to be, actually, as of today, my full-time employer.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Lots of encouragement from a lot of people. But the interesting part is that over the last, I would say, 12 to 18 months, as I got more and more serious on my food website, and as AI was kind of becoming a big play in the world, it was kind of a necessity because I was only working Saturdays on my blog. And I still needed to make things work. And I have a 2-year-old toddler. So when you kind of add all of these different pressures in, I started really seeing AI as a systems play, like you mentioned. And so I'm really excited to chat with the systems gurus about more system stuff today.
I'm so excited because I love how your brain works.
Yeah.
Like, we have the benefit of having interacted with Shruthi a couple times outside the podcast. Like, I'm always blown away by how smart you are, and I love how your brain works. So I am so excited for today's episode.
And I feel like this is a mashup of two of our favorite things right now. Like,
it really is,
right?
AI.
Like systems and AI, and just making it all work together so that it becomes like a power play for your business, because it really can just streamline everything and really get you firing on all cylinders.
So I want to start with first, because you specifically said we're going to talk about it as systems instead of productivity, because I think a lot of people, that's where that's where we start to really get excited about AI, is the productivity, right? Like, just realizing how much faster we can do things, how much time it saves. So talk to us a little bit about what that difference looks like. Like, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, so I think Claude is like a great example to use as maybe the through line. I do use other LLMs for different things, but I primarily do all my work in Claude. And when people think about AI, they're usually thinking about the first surface, which is chat. It's a scratch pad, you tell it something, it spits out something, and maybe you've set up a project so that you don't have to keep telling it the same thing. But at the end of the day, it's kind of like a conversation, right? It's a conversation with a friend on the phone, or it's a text message equivalent. But when I think of systems, you got to move a little bit more into co-work, which is more like sitting next to your friend, an expert, and actually having them do stuff on your laptop. And so you kind of like progressively build from, if you go from just random chats where you're literally pasting in the same prompt 50 times each month, to building a project where the context is saved, but you still kind of have to prompt it in order for it to give you the results back. And maybe taking it to a system at that level might be, going into co-work, it's connected to your Airtable that has a list of all of your posts. And anytime your post changes in status from draft to published, it's automatically going to run a task that's going to tell me, here's your Pinterest description. Here's a way that you can promote this on Threads. Here are 6 hooks for the next Instagram thing that you're going to publish. And voila, you got it, right? So that is it's not so much that productivity and systems are mutually exclusive. It's just that you can actually turbocharge your productivity and regain more time and reinvest in things that actually matter, either for your business or elsewhere.
Right.
If you were to kind of see AI as not just a, like a transactional relationship, but rather as a strategic relationship.
Right. And I think you said something the other day, Corinne, that we were talking about how you were able to get something done that has been on your list for forever. And you're like, yeah, because I've had AI doing so many of the other things that it actually freed up my time to be able to tackle this project that has been on my list for forever. And I think that's one of the best things that I found.
Yeah, for sure.
So we can,
Okay, so talk to us a little bit, like you teased it very lightly there, but I am fascinated. I always love hearing anyone's workflow,
yeah,
period, but the fact that you have integrated AI into it. So can we dig in a little bit deeper on that specific workflow that you just
yeah.
outlined?
Get ready to take notes, everybody. I am. My pen is fired up here.
And actually, before we get to that, I have a question because I know you just started your
Yeah,
Substack, Mise en Claude. Uh, I love the name
I know, I
too.
love
I
it.
love a good
I
play on
know.
words. So Mise en Claude, is this the sort of stuff that you're covering there?
I
Okay.
am. And I started the Substack because one, I just like writing. And
Hmm.
two, as in friend circles and so on, like I am not even like the most early adopter. My husband is, but by association, I get a lot of his like random, he's like,
Right.
oh, have you tried this random thing for your food blog? And then I go tinker and I'm like, oh, this actually worked out. And there are times and I'm like, that was way too much effort for like not enough
Right.
payoff. And then I would be talking with folks and they'd be like, oh, how are you doing that? And how are you doing this? And so then I'm sitting and writing these long Slack messages, long text messages, getting on the phone, leaving voice notes. And I was like, enough people are asking that maybe I should just start writing about my experiences online. And that's
Right.
kind of how, and of
Love
course,
it.
had to come up with the tongue in cheek name. So Mason
So
Cloud was born.
listeners, take good notes today, but then also go sign up for her Substack so that you can just keep getting all of
Yeah.
this wisdom. Yeah,
And we'll put the links for
Yes.
that in the show notes so that you can very easily find it.
100%.
Awesome.
Okay,
Thank
I'm
you.
ready
Okay.
with my notepad. Okay.
Workflow.
So
Hit us.
workflow, I think, so I kind of think about this in like the layers of the cloud house, right? So you have chat, and I only use chat when it is something that I need on my phone. And even now, actually, Cowork has dispatch option, which means as long as you have your laptop open and running
Right.
somewhere, so basically it doesn't go to sleep, you can even connect directly and do that instead. But chat is like, a conversation. It's very quick. Like if I actually use it more for like research, and I might end up going to Gemini or, equivalent chat surfaces across the board to get research done. But then most of my work happens in either Cowork or in code. Code is, maybe we can just set that aside for the time being because it is essentially a developer interface. So
Right.
it's able to talk to your computer's terminal. You can code in it. You don't need code. Cowork gets you 95% of the way there because it can do all of the things, almost all of the things that code can do, except it's not scary looking. So you just talk to it in natural language,
Yeah.
and then it'll tell you, hey, like, blah, blah, blah. The only difference is if you're building more automations and things like that, when you go into Cowork, it might tell you to go into terminal and put something in there. So you need safeguards in place so you don't accidentally go and delete a bunch of things. But we'll talk about that when I talk about my Cowork workflow in probably a second. So Cowork is, I would describe it as more like a file-aware working interface, right? So that means it has a lot of connectors. So you think of it as like plugins, essentially, that you can connect it to your Airtable, you can connect it to your SEMrush. If you know a little bit of coding, you can directly connect it to your Google Search Console, and so on. And so a Canva, the limits are like endless. They're constantly releasing new connectors. And these are called MCPs, or Model Context Protocols. Essentially, if you've heard of the term API, MCPs are APIs for AI and large language models. It does the same thing. It's just a machine. It's like my agent talking to your agent so that it knows what it's doing. I spend most of my workflow in Cowork. And the reason for doing that is because it can do all kinds of crazy things. It can reorganize your Google Drive. It can, as an example, like if I'm writing a new post, I've already developed the recipe, and I kind of know. I was just doing it this morning with a mango sticky rice recipe that I learned when I was in Thailand. Everybody uses coconut milk for it, but I use coconut cream, and I use a metal steamer instead of a bamboo basket. So I gave it all of this information, all of my notes, which I usually voice dictate to it.
Do you use Whisperflow?
I do use Whisperflow.
Okay.
Yes. Super Whisper is like the one-time lifetime payment option if people are interested. There are also some free options that are out there, but I really like Whisperflow.
Most people do. Like, it's the one I hear everyone like that uses it that way uses Whisperflow.
Yeah.
It's super seamless across like my phone and my laptop. So I can, and everything syncs together. So then I never
it formats, right?
Catching.
Yeah.
And it uses AI to kind of like, and this is really important as somebody that has a kind of peculiar accent, I would say. Like, I grew up in India. I studied in a British system. I moved to the US 20 years ago. And I work in Africa. So my accent's constantly changing. And that's actually really important that an AI is able to recognize what I'm actually trying to say. So anyway, I will voice dictate a bunch of stuff to it. And then, I have 4 projects in Cowork. One is my content project, one is my email project, one is a social media project, and then one is a business project. And it is really important that you don't end up creating the one project to rule them all. While that might seem like a really good idea, what's going to happen is that your social media project requires you to really be thinking about Gen Z and fast hooks and be a little controversial, grab attention. That's probably not how I'm talking to my email audience, who are a good decade older, right? Like, a lot of them are older folks that are writing back to me or whatever, and they don't want short and snappy caption style emails where I talk in my natural voice, right? And then you don't want that for your blog post either, because a blog is different. You want to demonstrate authority. You want to talk about, hey, I tested this 6 times and here's why this worked. And that's why these things all live in separate projects, because each project essentially gets its own set of custom instructions and context. So when I'm working in that project, it knows all of the context from that project and it sticks to that version of me. It's still me, but in the same way that you probably don't talk to your boss the same way that you talk to your best friend, that you talk to your husband.
Right.
It's still you. And, you just have different kind of
the voice is the same. It's the tone that's different.
Exactly. And so that's kind of how I have my project set up. And so let's say in this particular case, I was in my content project and I fed it all of this information. And then I said, hey, run your thing. And I have skills, and we can talk about skills in a second. But essentially what it does is that it takes my brief, all of the notes that I gave it, and then it will go into SEMrush and it will say, okay, I'm going to search for mango sticky rice. It's going to pull all the related keywords for mango sticky rice. And it's going to take all my recipe notes, etc. And then it's going to come back and tell me, here is a set of 10 potential keywords you can use for this post. And pros and cons, right? Okay, mango sticky rice has 74,000 as a keyword search volume, but it's also super difficult. And I'll be honest, I think in the age of AI today and how search is evolving, search volume, etc., is kind of all over the place. It doesn't really matter, but it is still a good proxy. You don't need it, but it's still a good proxy, at least for competition for me. Because if, somebody that is a Thai blogger that is, extensively an expert in that area, I'm not going to win on authenticity because I'm not Thai myself, but I have gone to Thailand. I've, several times I have learned in Thailand, but and so I have my own story to tell, which is different from somebody that wants an authentic Thai recipe. So it's going to give me a bunch of keywords. And then I said, okay, the fact that it is made with coconut cream is important. So I'm going to put that in the title. And then it will say, okay, here are 3 other things that are helpful. And then what it does, it usually takes my post template and takes my notes and drafts me a first pass. And then I just, all I have to do is go and tweak it. And, now I've actually kind of custom built, we were talking about this the other day, right? I've custom built this workflow where it is slowly pushing it directly into WordPress using WordPress API. So that, this whole process in the past might have taken me, let's say the recipe is fully developed, photographed, everything is ready to go. it would still take me a good 2-3 hours.
Yeah.
Right. From doing the like kind of final keyword research, from really thinking about like, what are the things I want to say? How do I keep this as short as possible, but still cover all the details that a person might need, et cetera, et cetera. And then you're like, okay, now all of this takes me 30 minutes. So that is why, but it's also a systems play, because in that particular project, I don't need to copy paste prompts. I don't need to stay in the same chat, because context erodes over time. And it's really important to understand with AI that the hygiene problem is real. It doesn't overwrite prior instructions, it averages it. So if you said in the past, hey, like, don't do this, and then you later say, do this, it's going to randomly pick. Some cases it's going to do it, and some cases it's not going to do it. And that's why, if being in the same chat or the same project, even in chat, after a certain amount of time, you're like, wow, you were really good before. What happened? Like, why are you doing this? Yeah. It's because it is pulling on, you know, the other day I was looking at my main project instruction file, and it was like 7,000 lines long. And it was just a month, right? And I was like, oh my God, this is so crazy, because it's committing everything to memory. It's like, oh, everything has to link into this summer produce thing that I was doing, or everything has to link into this Thai cluster. No, it doesn't. And so I think having the discipline to be very clean about it is why it is a systems boost. Because I can now go into that project, start any chat, and all I need to do is like plug in what my current, you know, let's say the next post I'm working on is a red curry. I just plug in the red curry. I gave it my notes, and it does the same process. So it's rinse and repeat without me needing to put in the same amount of effort every time.
So for our listeners, if we could just take like a little detour here, can we talk a bit about that AI hygiene and like what you would recommend for users in AI so that we're keeping things clean and we're getting the best possible output?
Yeah. So first I would think about guardrails, right? It's kind of like the medical practice of like do no harm. You actively do not want any of your AI, LLM, Claude, whatever, to end up hurting you in any way. Right. So and so if you think about instructions and guardrails, it happens at multiple levels. And I'm going to use Claude as an example, but ChatGPT has a similar infrastructure. Claude at the account level has custom instructions. So this is kind of like the single box where you tell it who you are. And it's important for this to be very short, right? Like mine just says, you know, I'm Shruthi, I'm a former engineer, I'm a consultant, I'm a food blogger, I only focus on vegetarian recipes, blah, blah, blah. So it's like, I think maybe like 10 lines. So this is going to apply to every single thing you do, right? So make sure that this is really universally the stuff that is true. And then you have the next layer, which is like in either chat or in Cowork, then you have project-specific instructions. So in my case, I have 4 projects. And like I mentioned before, I have different instructions for each project. I also have different kind of context files that are uploaded for each project. So in my content project, I have my kind of really deeply researched audience persona information. So for every post idea that I come up with, it actually goes and checks and makes sure this is going to apply to one of those personas. Because it becomes very easy to be like, oh, everybody is doing this viral dot cake. Like I should make one. No, I shouldn't make that, because that has no like brand cohesiveness with what I want to actually be talking about on my site. So that's the next layer of instructions. I also have certain kind of hard-coded rules, which might feel like it hinders productivity, but until you fully understand how an AI works and you get comfortable with that process, it is better to be a little slow in order to go fast later. Yeah. Because if you skip these steps and just give it all the permissions, you're going to end up in a situation where it might, like it did this the other day, like I actually wrote a post about it. It completely deleted a bunch of my project files because it was like supposed to be moving things. But the way that Claude works is that it first moves it in a sandbox and then it replicates that. It mirrors that on your actual laptop. So what it did was it moved things in the sandbox, deleted everything from my actual laptop, but the sandbox was not mirrored to my project. Oh. So then I was like,
oh my goodness,
trying to search something. And I was like, wait, where are my notes on my brand positioning? Where did that go? And it was like, oh, I'm so sorry.
That bad me.
But that's why having redundancies is important. Like I have another set of like I have everything backed up essentially, and I write everything to another folder so that it's the way to limit this might be, one, I have a hard-coded rule that says never delete original files and always ask before deleting. So, or the easier way to do it is to just not let it delete at all. Instead, what you can do is anytime something needs to be deleted, have it move into a designated folder, right? You can call it for deletion.
From it. Yeah.
So as far as Claude is concerned, it has deleted because it has moved it into that folder.
Right. And then you can review it.
Review it, and then you delete it if you want.
Yeah.
So
that makes me feel better.
I know, because you got to be like, it's like any automation, right? Like you have a plugin that is compressing your images, like it can go wrong. Right. Your draft stuff can go wrong. Your Yoast rewrite and republish can go wrong. The thing with technology is that there's always room for error, whether on part of the technology or because of human error that then compounds, and you just have to be
or the power blinks out in the middle of it doing something. I mean, so many things. So, Shruthi, quick question before you step into the next thing. When you say you hard-coded these in, because I know how to do, like, I understand account instructions and project instructions. Where are your hard-coded rules? Like, how, like, you don't have to give us all the details, but like in general, where do those live? How are they created?
So mostly I work in co-work. Okay. So co-work, the way it works is that the project is basically a folder, right? It's a folder that lives on your laptop. So it's a little different from chat. In that chat, a project, everything lives in Claude, in chat. So that means like whatever you're giving it is in here, it's a folder, and within each folder, there's a Claude.md. MD is basically like .txt, it's the markdown, which is a LLM readable text format. In that Claude.md, I have hard-coded rules.
You have that, okay.
Yeah. And I might even suggest, if this is super important to you, that you put it in the global instructions. I test a lot, and I think I probably have a higher kind of risk tolerance profile when it comes to these things, because I'm constantly testing things to like learn. And I feel very confident about my backup situation. Like I have Google Drive, I have another like NAS backup at home. Everything syncs at like a half an hour basis. So at worst, I'm set back half an hour. So I feel very confident, and I, tweak accordingly. I give it all kinds of permissions sometimes just to see what it does. But yeah, so that's kind of the broad system.
Okay.
And I've used it for all kinds of things, and the use cases themselves are probably not rocket science. It's stuff that probably most food bloggers are already doing, right? Like you're using it to generate email subject lines. You're using it to clean up or develop a first pass of a draft post after you give it some of the more important things. Like for instance, I never let it write my introductions. That is something that I write by hand every single time, because the first 300 words or so of a post is what LLMs actually screen. So Google, that's all, that's what it's reading. That's also what your reader is reading. So it's really important for you to be like, here's why you should make my recipe, and here's everything you need to know, so that I'm not like catching you with a mango sticky rice recipe and then you realize you actually needed a bamboo basket. And I'm like, oh, whoops, like, let me introduce that like halfway through no, that's not going to work. You want to avoid pogo sticking as much as possible. So that's something that I always do. But more recently, and I think you guys, and Corinne, I'm looking at you for this because of video. But I recently built a project just for Instagram. And, like I said, I quit my job recently, and every kind of 30 to 90 days, I do one project. I take on one thing that is additional to my base load. And I finished email, and this month it was Instagram. And I said, okay, I'm going to start out 1 week by just observing. So I like took lots of notes on like, what are the things that were working? I took screenshots of hooks that I liked. I stored a bunch of things. And then I went into Claude. I created a project that was just for Instagram. And I built a skill. A skill in Claude is essentially a repeatable set of instructions. So if you're doing the same thing over and over and over, so let's say it's a Pinterest description. If you're doing that all the time, figure out it's basically a repeated set of prompts, right? That learns and grows as you go along. So for instance, if tomorrow, like somehow Pinterest says, hey, like your descriptions only need to be 150 characters. Okay, great. Like now you can add that in, and it's gonna incorporate that into your skill. And so I built an Instagram hook skill based on all the lessons that I had learned. And it's not generating these things for me necessarily, but I would give it ideas. I'd be like, I kind of want to do this thing with my croissant French toast bake. Here's some context. Like I went and bought a giant box of croissants from Costco and I didn't know what to do with it. Blah, 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 blah. I just word vomit.
Yeah.
And then I tell it, give me, whatever. And so the skill essentially is conditioned to give me 5 to 7 hooks from very different angles that will appeal to the widest range of people, but still tell them, but still stay very true to my brand guidelines.
Right.
And so I started on May 1st with 2,800 followers on my Instagram. And that's right, 2,800 and not 2.8 million. And in the last 30 days, I've had 3.5 million views on my travel reels. Yep. And I have grown to 6,500 followers.
That's awesome.
That is fantastic.
I'm still filming my videos. I'm still editing my videos. I'm still thinking about the captions. It helps me. But the edits are mine. The content is mine. I'm the person in it. But what it does, why it's a system, is because now I don't need to be sitting here going back and forth with my AI, trying to come up with, 50 different hooks.
Right.
I just have to go in and say, here's the recipe. Here's what the video. The thing is, it still can't process video. So I will just be like, hey, here are the shots that I took.
Yeah.
And it'll be, again, I'm just talking, right? So I can just be like, yeah, for the croissant bake, there's a shot of me picking up Costco croissants. There's the step-by-step recipe. And then there's a shot of me eating it. And then it was like, okay, why don't you try one where you start with that versus you start with this and start with that? Great. Now I can actually go in, I can edit it. And I think I did 7 trial reels on that. 3 of them went over 100,000. One of them is currently sitting at almost 1 million. It's at 978,000 views.
That's awesome.
I have added 400 subscribers. And it's not even, that wasn't even the main CTA. Right. It's just with Grocers List, you have an automatic save to email option and people are getting it. So my point is if I had been trying to do this on a 1-by-1 basis,
right,
it would be hard. And the next strategic play is for AI to help you decide what my next reel should be.
Right.
Right. So that's where you level up with systems slowly. First, you master the prompt and you build evaluations, right? So it's kind of you have to keep testing it. So it's like proctoring. Christina, you know this, you're teaching at your local college, right? Mm-hmm. So you have to test that it actually understands what you're trying to tell it.
Right.
And so for every skill I build, I write an evaluation for it. At the end of each month, I spend probably, call it 2 hours every month, where I go through my 4 projects and I audit the instructions. So I just open the instructions and I read it. And I'm like, is everything here still valid, necessary, and as sharp as it can be? And, often I will find some cruft, you will find drift as it starts because you're using it all the time, right? So you don't know what it's committing to memory and not. So I'll do that. And then the second thing I will do is I will give it a random thing without any other additional context. So I will just run the test process, and I will score it. And I will say, okay, did this actually meet my expectations? Where did it go wrong? Where did it go right? And then I will check that again, and then I'll go back and revisit the instructions again. I do this every single month. And so you really...
Yeah.
And it's you have to really kind of think about it as if you were thinking about food photography, right? You have to keep learning and you have to keep adjusting in order for you to stay on top of whatever's happening today. It's the same thing with AI. Why would it yes, it can learn a lot faster, but you are still in control of your business. You still know your brand the best. You still know your food the best. You still know your audience the best. And so it can be a peer on the side that is enabling you to move faster on things, but it's never going to replace you.
Right.
And so anyway, that was a lot. I know I just rambled.
I love it. Yeah.
One of the ways I like to look at that too, and I love this idea of auditing it and evaluating it. It's kind of like when you work with a team member, right? They submit work to you and it's almost there, but you get the final pass and you're fixing it and judging it. And then you publish it or whatever. And then the next one comes in and you're fixing a couple of things and you're publishing it. Whatever. If you don't ever provide that feedback to the person, they will never know to fix it. Right. And
Mm-hmm.
the AI is the same thing. If you never provide that feedback to it, it's never going to know to up, like you'll
Yeah.
never think to update those instructions or those parameters or those guardrails that you put in place. So you have to provide that feedback. And if you don't, then the problem's on you, not the tool or the team member.
Right.
You're the
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah. And these things accumulate, right? Because
Hmm.
individually, it might be a 5% drift.
Hmm.
But if you're sitting and using it for generating 200 Pinterest descriptions, that's 5% on 200. Like it
Yeah.
adds up.
It's a lot. Yeah.
And voice is where it shows up the most.
Hmm.
Because if you don't separate your projects and if you don't have a clear custom instruction file that is set up, then it's going to try to average across like the examples I gave, right? Like it's going to try to appeal to my Instagram audience and my email
Yeah.
audience and my blog audience and fail at all of it,
Right.
which
I will
kind of,
say,
defeats it.
I will say too, because you were at the Smart Influencer Summit, the first one, and you sat through Katie's presentation, and I actually took her course, and completing that course gave me such dialed in guidelines for me to give to Claude that I cannot believe how much it sounds like me and gives me exactly what I need because I have those guidelines
The
really
clarity.
honed in, really, really in place. It
Yeah.
totally upped the game for me.
Well, and the thing that was really cool about that too, which I was like, I feel like that's so repetitive, Christina, but now like combining it with what you just said, Shruti, like it said like it nailed her voice. And then it was like, okay, but for Instagram, we make
Yep.
these adjustments. For email, we're going to do this. For LinkedIn, we want to be a little more professional. And it didn't change that core messaging,
Hmm.
but it just tweaked a little bit more. Like here, we're going to be a little more casual with it. Here, we're going to avoid saying
Hmm.
these words, like, and it would take that same foundational statement and reword it for each one. It was so insanely repetitive, but just
Just
different enough.
the nuance,
Just
just
like, yeah.
nuanced enough. Yeah. And it's the shift in tone. It's your voice stays the same. It's the tone shift that makes all the
Yeah,
difference. And when you
exactly.
have,
Because you're still you.
yeah,
Right,
You're not like becoming a different person. Your blog is not becoming a completely different blog either.
right.
right.
It's still catering to you're still putting out, you're still the same brand.
Yeah.
And ideally, you still want to be the same brand in the minds of the people that are coming to you, but it's just you're going to attract people differently
Hmm.
if you talk to them differently.
Hmm.
And I think that's where like the nuance, yes, it is essentially the same thing, but then it's just slightly different.
And I just
Right.
think taking that time to do that pre-work makes all the difference. I mean, it
Oh,
really truly
yes.
does. When you get things like that put together, like that set of brand guidelines that I have now, it's so dialed in that it is now the litmus test for everything I do. And I love having that. And it has totally changed the output that I'm getting from
Oh, yes.
any AI tool. Yeah. So
Yeah, no,
something like
100%.
that. If you go listen to Katie's episode with us, not to take you away from this episode, but when you're done listening to this one, go listen to Katie's. I mean, the woman is brilliant.
Well, and I think that
She
paired with
is.
everything Shruti just said
Yeah.
gives you a really strong foundation for
Oh, it
whatever
does.
you're doing. Which brings me to my next question for you, Shruti. I want to ask this while I have you. Like in the documents when you were submitting to book the time for the podcast, you had said like what you were going to do, what you'd do differently if you were starting urban farming today. And I want to hear that. But before we get to that, what I want to ask you is because most of our listeners aren't just starting today, right? Like most of us are where we are, right? Like
Hmm.
we're already a couple steps down the road. My biggest problem, and this is where I find myself using AI a lot, is I came in and just kind of hodgepodged a system together as I was moving because I was trying to learn 20 different things. And, like, so a lot of stuff was piecemealed. And, like, the place, I'm going to use Kit as an example. I've talked about this many times here. And, like,
Hmm.
it gives me anxiety for as much as I love email and I live in there. I just kind of stumbled upon, like, I just kept adding more tags and adding more sequences and adding more stuff. And it would stress me out when I would go in there. Like, cleaning that up has been on my list. Christina knows, everybody in my masterminds know this for like a year, right? Like, I've got to clean this up. I've got to go. But it was such a ball of spaghetti for me trying to find a system in there without losing anything that I had. So assuming taking that example, right? Like assuming then that's how most people are coming at AI. Okay, I want to use it as a good, I want to create a good system
Mm-hmm.
here, right? Like I know that you've outlined that workflow, but what would your advice be knowing that most people listening to this, I'm going to assume most people are like me, even though I'm a corgi bird, right? Like that they've just kind of piecemeal this, whatever they're doing together. Assuming someone's starting there, how would they start to make that jump to where you are?
Yeah, with a lot of patience and a lot of focus.
Okay.
I think the greatest benefit of AI is also its biggest pitfall, which is that it can do everything reasonably well
Mm-hmm.
and it can distract you from that.
Mm-hmm.
So the focus is not going to come from AI. AI is just going to like do whatever you tell it to do.
Right.
Right. And so I would say, kind of going back to like prioritization and focus, pick one project. Pick one thing that is really bothering you and commit to spending the next 30 to 60 days. It needs to be at that level, right? It can't be, oh my God, I need to figure out how to like generate all text. Like that's not the right scope of project. It's kind of like when you guys were at the summit, you talked about like, how do you really assess whether this thing is worth my attention for an extended period of time?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Email, absolutely. Yes. If you want to think about content update strategy, yes, that absolutely is. If you want to build a new digital product, yes. So really think about what is the net impact going to be on my bottom line if I really nail this, right? And start out by saying, what does it look like today? What do you not like about it? And I'm not, you're not even in cloud at this point.
Right.
Open a blank Google Doc, sit down and just say, Corinne, you might say, here's what my kit looks like.
Right.
And you might want to grab data as you go along, right? So what I might do is like, I might go and open my tags and be like, okay, here's all the tags, screenshot, throw it in there. Okay. And then maybe just look at it for a hot second and say, okay, like, these three are really helpful. Like, yes, I want to tag everybody that has bought something from me ever.
Right.
But then maybe this one is not that helpful because I did it for this one thing. And then like, tags and I'm sorry, I'm diverging a little bit on the email topic here, but like tags decay, right? If somebody clicked on tofu today, doesn't mean that they're going to like tofu 3 months from now. That's why you use custom fields. And Corinne, you and I can talk about this. I spent the last 60 days cleaning up my email and it was a dinosaur.
Yeah. Well, thanks
but,
to Kits MCP, I finally tackled the project. I'm still working my way through automations, but we cleaned up tags, we cleaned up sequences.
Amazing.
And it was the same thing that you're saying. I went in at tags. I'm like, do I really need to know who came to me in the 2023 like bundle I participated in? Maybe not.
Exactly.
What I love about that too is it removes all the human emotion from it. So we're tied to this because we thought we needed it and we think we want it, but AI is going to be like, girl, you really don't need that.
Oh yeah.
That's providing you no value.
Yeah.
No, and the reason I tell you not to start an AI for that is because it is so easy to get influenced because Claude, ChatGPT, all of them, they'll make it sound like it is so researched and it is like the most rational thing. And sometimes you're like, I don't think so. I don't think that is rational at all because it doesn't know everything you know. Again, I keep coming back to this. You know your business the best. Start in an empty Google Doc, write it down, right? Like put your tags in, put your current sequences in. And the Kit MCP doesn't pull sequence analytics though. It only does broadcast, right? So you bring the broadcast data in and kind of like, and also like spend a little bit of time, like spend 20 minutes, 30 minutes writing down what you dislike about your current system, what you like about your current system. And then spend another 20, 30 minutes writing what would the ideal system look like. And I don't mean the mechanics of it, but like, how will it make you feel? What are you able to accomplish as a result of it? Because the thing is, AI is if you give it, like, it's like a, what do you call it? It's like a hammer, like a nail looking for a hammer looking for a nail type of thing.
Yeah.
Like it'll just force fit itself into the thing that it thinks you want. However, if you just tell it to solve a specific problem, because it's not going to have the intelligence to question whether that is even the problem you should be solving.
Right.
And so instead, one of the best ways to extract more productivity is to take a more systems approach, which is to say, what do you want from this, right? Like, Corinne, like, what was the objective of cleaning up your email? The objective is you tell me if you were to describe it.
So my customer experience was not clean because I had not structured my automations properly and the welcome like I wasn't doing a solid handoff. So there was a chance you could join two of my welcome sequences and be getting like lots of different emails from me simultaneously. Like it just wasn't clean. So it was a poor user experience, higher unsubscribe. So I worked so hard to get people on my list. Like I was losing money, like for sure losing money. And I knew it for a long time. So.
Yeah, exactly. So in that case, I might write something like, I want every single person that lands on my site to have a really cohesive journey through one welcome sequence that is really targeted to where they came in from. And then for them to experience this, for every customer to experience a standardized set of emails that really builds their know, like, and trust with me so that I can do whatever. I can pitch them my membership. I can sell them this ebook or whatever, right? Or just keep them coming back to my website. Get them to add me as a Google trusted publisher. Get them to follow me on Instagram, whatever it might be. Start there. And then, so then now, because you're not already being kind of distracted by AI, you go in and you have actually spent the time thinking about what it is you really want. And you've spent the time constructing the current state scenario. So now what I would do is, if you don't already have an email project, I would go into Cowork or ChatGPT, whatever. The gap keeps closing. Yeah, like pick one and stick with it. Honestly, you don't need to pay $200 for like 6 different subscriptions, unless you just like playing with them, which I don't know.
Which you do.
Don't come after me. I'm mostly I'm not even in Cowork. I'm like in Claude Code 90% of the time now. So I'm probably the worst example. But go in and create a project, right? And create a set, like first start with the claude.md, which is the instructions file, and be very simple, right? What are the non-negotiable rules? And I mean it, like when you start a project, there should not be more than 5 lines. There cannot be more than 5 hard and fast rules, right? And then start a new chat, give it all of the content. Don't tell it what you want it to do yet. Give it all of the context first and ask it to put on 5 different hats. And maybe you can name an example. You can be an email strategist. You can be a $10 million food blog, whatever, right? And give it 2 examples and it'll come up with its own other examples. Funnel expert. Ask it to take your current context and tell you what's good about it and what's not good about it. You haven't told it anything about what your assessment is or what you want the outcome to look like. You're just giving it the context. Read through that and see if it will, I can guarantee you it will pick up something that you forgot or you wouldn't have even thought about. But it'll also give you stuff where you're like, I don't think this is right. So now the next step is to take your assessment and this assessment and craft something that is an honest, comprehensive assessment that is not bloated, right? And then put that into chat and then say, hey, like now can you synthesize this in a concise way so we can use this as a reference document? So what it's going to do is generate a .md file that will live in the same folder. And then you label it something like inbound June 5th, whatever, June 2026 current state. So that way it knows, and the naming and the date is really important because you're going to have to essentially now what I might do is go back into my project instructions and say, June last update, June 2026. Because it's going to know now, then in 8 months from now, if you redo this process, the June 2026 stuff doesn't matter. You're going to redo the whole current state again. So then when you go in and update, it's not going to go pull June 2026 and pull November 2026 and then try to figure out, okay, which one should I use? So now you have established the baseline. Everybody's on the same page. We all understand the foundations better. Then the next step is to now go in and say, okay, you understand the current state. Here's the outcome I'm envisioning. Put on those 5 hats again. Tell me what am I missing in this? And walk me through a step-by-step roadmap of how I might get there. Don't do anything. Let's just talk first. And it's probably going to give you a roadmap and you're going to look at it and you're going to say, okay, this part works, this part doesn't work. And this is where you build in constraints, right? You'll be like, hey, I don't have all the time to do this. I only have 2 hours. What would you tackle first?
Right.
See whether that aligns with you. And then, because these things are not going to get done in one fell swoop.
Right.
You're going to have to like really think about it. And the strategy is the hardest part of it.
Yeah.
If you define the right question to ask, you will get to the right solution. But the problem is that it is so easy to get drift on the question itself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And pick one project at a time.
Right.
I know that we are all multitasking. We are all doing 60 things at the same time. But don't try to fix everything at once. Pick one thing that is substantive and is really going to have an impact in your business. You know, and even with my typing issues, I like started with email and I turned off get it print. And I said, I don't need this. I don't need people to keep opening and not clicking. I don't, that's not the experience I want for my subscribers. Mm-hmm. And that's okay, right? Like, and you might make a different choice because it's your business and you need to make that choice in the right way and figure out how, like what do you walk them through? And then I actually went in and deleted most of my tags. I use custom fields now, but that's a whole different podcast. But you know what I mean? Like every person will have a different set of priorities and like objective functions, and you just have to pick one. And because that is how you learn what works and what doesn't work. And Claude and ChatGPT are all the same. Like they keep like, you know, it's just, you're not necessarily going to get a lot more use out of one. Codex is just as good.
Right.
I just prefer Anthropic as a company. So I use more Claude.
And I think by doing this, by doing one at a time and giving it your full undivided attention and really dialing it in and honing it in versus doing, you know, getting excited and doing a whole bunch of things, you have the chance to really get that nailed down to where it's effective. And that now when you tackle the next project, you can skip a lot of that preamble nonsense that you did before and like don't make the same mistakes twice. And it's a much more streamlined process and you can cut even some of that time down even more.
It's like working out.
Yeah.
You know, if you just go to the gym and you don't have the right form, you are going to hurt yourselves. Or at worst, or at best, you're just not going to see the gains.
Right.
So if you take the time to correct your form first, then everything you do afterwards is going to actually cumulatively help you a lot more.
Yeah.
Right. That's a good example.
Yeah. Time spent planning is never time wasted. Planning and organizing. Never time wasted.
Oh, this is awesome, Shruthi.
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
I'm so excited about this. So can you tell us more about Mise and Claude?
I've just been writing about everything I talked about on Substack. So I think it's only Claude. I don't, you know, I talk specifically about Claude for food bloggers because I think a lot of the content that's out there is generally about Claude and like people are trying to, you know, kind of adapt it to the food blogging use cases. And it's either super basic, meaning here are 16 prompts that are going to like, you know, turbocharge, blah, blah, blah. Or it's very advanced in the sense of like, here's how you build your own like OAuth protocol for like attaching your Google Search Console MCP. And people are like, whoa, like, and I think, but what has ended up happening is that somewhere in between all of this kind of like really unsexy hygiene stuff just gets lost.
Yeah.
But I think I firmly believe, and I say this as like, you know, I have worked, I mean, I still, I guess today, as of today, I still do. But I've worked in like really high, like, you know, kind of corporate settings. I've worked in nonprofits. I've worked in governments. The thing that is common about successful people, entities in any of those spheres is discipline.
Mm-hmm.
And you just have to like figure out how do you bring that discipline into the work that you're doing. And with AI, it is so easy to get distracted.
Yeah.
Because it is really good at telling you what you want to hear.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think that, sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say those hygiene principles that you gave us, I think are so super important when it comes to that, you know, like having that basic stuff nailed down. And it's the stuff we all forget about because we just jump in and start doing.
Yeah.
But making sure we're clean.
Yeah. But, and that's the productivity versus systems thing, right? Because yes, it's going to take you 2 hours every month to make sure that everything is still, you know, kind of up to date and like it doesn't have additional things that you don't want in there. But if you spend those 2 hours, let's say you're spending an hour a day talking to LLMs in a month, 2 hours gets you 20 hours of better productivity. And so I absolutely think that ROI is worth it. It has always been worth it.
Yeah.
And so anyway, that's also me, some Claude. I just like writing. So I was like, okay, I'll start writing.
That's exciting. I know lots of people that have subscribed already. So George, just before you had sent us the email about it, I actually, in a different group I'm in, they were all talking about it. Everybody had subscribed. So people were very excited. I hope it's wildly popular. I think it will be, just based on what I know about how brilliant you are. So,
oh, you're so kind. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we could talk to you for hours about this. Like, I can't believe the time has flown by like it has, because there's so much I want to still talk about. But if our listeners want to learn more about you or get to know you better, what is the best way for them to find you? Where can they find you online?
All my food blog stuff is at Urban Farmy. So that's like foodie, but farmy, because I work in agriculture. So FARMIE, Urban Farmy. And my Substack is Mise and Claude, like Mise and Plus.
Yeah.
And we'll have links to all of that in the show notes for you.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Shruthi, for joining us. And thank you, listeners, for spending time with us today. Make sure you check out Shruthi's sites, especially Mise and Claude, if you're interested in what she covered today. And also, if you enjoyed today's conversation, please leave a rating and review for our show on your favorite podcast player.
If today's episode gave you clarity, direction, or even just one solid aha moment, that's your cue to take action.
Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what's coming next. And if you found this helpful, please share it with a creator friend who needs to hear it. Smart creators build in communities.
And if you're ready to go deeper, whether that's through our mastermind, live events, or free resources, head to thesmartinfluencer.com and get on our list.
That's where we share the strategies, tools, and behind-the-scenes insights we don't always talk about on the podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Now go build something smarter.